Is anything happening?
No.
So, would this meeting please come to order and welcome, and it's very nice to welcome our new superintendent to our first meeting. And would you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And could we make an adjustment to the agenda and add public comments at the end, according to the policy, which I've been told is a phantom policy, but is on the website. So we'll add that at the end, before closing actions. Superintendent's actions.
I just public comments.
Oh, I skipped it. To the end. I welcome people from the public to make what comments you may wish.
Hi, my name is John Collins. I live in Lee. I've lived there for 20 years. I have 3 kids who have gone through Oyster River K to 12 and are out in the world doing great things. I have a daughter who's going to start 2nd grade, son who's going to be starting kindergarten next year, and another one who'll be starting a couple years after that. So I kind of bookend this. I also served 6 years on the school board, so those are some of the things I bring to the table. I was thinking about this meeting with the new superintendent, and we were reading Stuart Little for about the 87th time, mine anyway, and I think you know the verse that I'm thinking of, where Stuart's driving north in search of his love, the bird Margallo, and comes upon a man at the side of the road with his head in his hands, and he says, "Oh, God, it's just an impossible situation." Stuart says, "What's that? What's the problem?" He said, "I'm the superintendent of schools." Stuart responds, "Oh, that's not impossible. It's bad, but it's not impossible." So I don't know. I'm sure you've heard a lot from a lot of different corners before you got here. It's not impossible. We care. The Oyster River community cares a lot about its schools and about its kids and about their education. And sometimes we clash and sometimes we battle. But I think what defines us is the pride we have in our schools. I mean, people move to Oyster River because of the schools. We win awards. Our students win awards, not just for academics or athletics, but for citizenship and sportsmanship. With apologies to Calvin Jarvis, we make noble characters in this district. So I just want to welcome you and tell you that I don't think it's an impossible situation, and look forward to the challenges ahead, working together with all of us.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Kay Morgan from Durham. I looked at the backup materials for tonight's meeting, and I saw that you're discussing the bidding policy, among other things, or I think it's being discussed. It's on the backup. And I just wanted to say that I think over the last 2 years, the voters in this district have indicated their commitment to sustainability, first through passing the warrant article to create the Sustainability Committee, and secondly through reauthorizing it this past year. So I would like to see that reflected in the bidding policy, as there are a number of categories that are considered when something is being purchased. And I know that, having been involved in the writing of the warrant article and the charge for the Sustainability Committee, that part of what our hope was that we would look at where we're buying goods and from what companies, and whether they are socially and responsible and possibly green. And so I just wanted to make that comment as you take a look at the categories, and I have no idea, I'm not a business person, I'm not a purchasing person, except on a personal level, but so I don't know whether each category has equal weight, whether there are more points given to a company for a certain category on that policy, but I would also encourage you to think about that in terms of prioritizing what is important about the purchases we make that are committing large amounts of taxpayer dollars. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Dean Rubine Lee. I wanted to just welcome Dr. Morse to the district again. And I'm glad to see that there's a lot fewer people here than a year ago when there was a bunch of outraged people and we went out into the hall, and hopefully it's a good omen for the year.
Thank you.
David Taylor from Durham. I also want to welcome you, Dr. Morris, for coming to our district and helping us improve the quality of our schools. I noticed in the backup agenda that there is a note about right-to-know requests, but there's no material in the backup that says what that discussion is going to be, so I have no idea what you're talking about. I would like to point out, however, that the right-to-know law doesn't say you have to cite the right-to-know law. Basically, any request of public documents is, by definition, a right-to-know request. So when you're considering the procedure, keep that very broad definition of that to your mind. Thank you.
Thank you.
William Hall, Durham. Bring down the schools was a comment that was made recently. We're down 300 students in the last few years. We're going to go down another 400 students. Folks, that's a spiral. It's going to take us from 2,300 to 1,600, a reduction of 30%. That's bringing down the schools. And it's coming down for one reason. Well, actually two. But it's coming down because of the cost of taxes in this district. People that will qualify for a house in any other district, they come here and qualify for the mortgage. Bank figures in the taxes and they can't buy it. I was a family with 1.5 children. It was bought by people that have no children. So that's just an example of why, of us going into this downward spiral, and we've got to start finding a way out. As I said a moment ago, there are 50 kids from the Oyster River District at Berwick. I was told that by a student over there. It's the biggest contributor to Berwick Academy is the Oyster River School District. So I think there's some issues here that have to be dealt with, and I think the best way to deal with them is with exit interviews from people that have written big checks to go somewhere else. That's the parents and students that have already decided to leave the district. Dover has 13,000, it costs $13,000 a student in Dover per year. That would save, that were Oyster River, we'd save $12 million. If Newmarket came here with 300 students at $13,000, the taxpayers would pay $2 million a year for that privilege. Exeter is $15,000. If we were 16, and that's doable, we'd save $6 million a year. If we were halfway to 16, we'd save $3 million a year. Now, are you going to wait till we're down to 1,600 students before you wake up and understand this? We're in a spiral, and it's getting worse. Thank you.
Thank you.
Denise Day, Durham, and I, like the others, would like to welcome Dr. Morse. My son went all the way up through Oyster River School District and graduated in 2009. And I'd just like to say that I was just having a conversation with my new neighbor yesterday in our brand new housing development that has 7 houses, and 3 of them have been built so far and have 5 young children so far in that development. So even though, yes, I know the trends say numbers are going down, but you know, a lot of it is based on economy. When economy turns around, sometimes things can turn around. I know in my neighborhood anyway, I was talking to her, and yes, she moved to Oyster River for the schools. You know, she has a son who's going to be starting at Moheramet in September in kindergarten, and then she has another little one behind him. So, you know, we still, and it was interesting because I said to her, well, it's kind of good you weren't here last year. And she said, oh, I heard about all that drama. I'm really glad I missed it. And it was interesting because she was aware of what happened, and yet she's still here, you know. So that, I think, says a lot for our district. Thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else? Then we'll move right along. Superintendent actions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We do have a request from Principal Allen from the high school to approve a request for a leave of absence by our teacher, Kate Engstrom. Todd informs me that Kate has been an exceptional teacher, that he supports the request, and it is in line with our collective bargaining agreement, and I would propose that the board support the request as well.
Krista?
Motion to approve the leave of Kathy Engstrom from ORCSD.
Second. Moved by Krista, seconded by Tom. Discussion?
Ms. Engstrom is my focus advisor at the high school, and I guess I have no idea who's going to be replacing her, but she will be sorely missed while she's gone.
I'd just like to say I've known her since she was an honors student at the University of New Hampshire, and it's been so gratifying to watch her development from being a superior student to being a superior teacher and leader in this school. And I hope she comes back, but whatever her decision is, I certainly wish her well. She's been a great gift to the district.
Anne?
Two of my children also had Kate as a teacher, and she was superb, and I know she'll be missed, and I wish her very, very well.
I find this difficult in the sense that I love to see mothers or fathers stay home with their children. I also believe in planning. And this is the end of July. I signed a contract with her just a couple of months ago where she agreed that she would work. And it's tough to get somebody for 1 year. It's even tougher to get somebody superb in the end of July. And I find the conflict between the two, if it's not in some kind of emergency situation. So that's where my values clash, right there. Anne?
I understand your point, and we do have a challenge in front of us. However, I can't, I don't know Kate's circumstances. However, I might suggest that as we look into our contractual obligations that we will be approaching in the next year, that we take into consideration timeframes that we would like to receive these kinds of requests, so that it's a win-win for both parties.
Further discussion? Hearing none, could I have a show of hands? All those in favor? Those in opposition?
So did you vote against, Madam Chair?
I did.
Thank you.
I was confident it would pass, but
The next motion is an annual motion of the board to support the nominations of department heads and extracurricular activity staff that have been appointed or nominated by Mr. Allen as well. Does this include the middle school time? Mm-hmm. No, it's just the high school.
Motion to approve the slate of department heads and extracurricular supervisors.
moved by Krista, seconded by Al. And I have a question about the journalism co-curricular stipend.
What's your question?
My question is that I have a source in the school who tells me that, huh?
Are you related to this source?
I am related to this.
She likes taking pictures.
And she claims that this year, coming year, the mouth of the river is no longer a co-curricular.
I think there's some confusion on that. I mean, we offer a journalism class, absolutely, and it is absolutely true that that most of the kids who are on the staff of the newspaper that are involved in editing and all of that do come from the journalism class, and having a thriving journalism program, a lot of the stories that get written for the paper come out of that class, but a lot of the publishing work and the editorial decision-making and so forth is an after-school activity. And so it's kind of, it's both. We have a journalism program where they learn, you know, the methods of writing and researching journalistic stories, learn the ethics of journalism and all of that. But ultimately, the organization of the newspaper occurs as an after-school activity. In fact, the young lady who's the editor this year is a former journalism student, but she is the editor, and it takes place as an after-school activity. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I suppose so.
Okay. All right.
Can my source be part of newspapers? What if she so chooses?
Absolutely. In fact,
Okay.
yeah, they accept submissions from all different corners of the school, and we encourage as much participation as possible. And yeah, definitely encourage your source to submit articles.
Thank you.
Todd.
Todd,
Sorry.
Megan had a question as well.
I was just curious about the grouping of fine arts with business as a department.
It's purely an organizational, because we have department heads that help us coordinate and organize a variety of things, from curriculum work, budgeting work, just disseminating information from our school level advisory council, which is made up of all of our department heads.
Okay.
And fine arts and business are put together simply because the numbers of them are relatively small, and it's relatively easy for Deb Sheldon to disseminate information to the art people and so forth.
So I'm sorry, is Deb, what does she teach?
She teaches business
okay.
classes and some of the computer
So
classes.
there's no real curricular work being done at the department level, or from that
Well,
perspective as a
there is,
faculty
except
head?
that, I mean, like, for example, the art department really is there's only 3
Right.
teachers. There's 1 music teacher, there's 1 shop teacher, there's 1 family consumer science teacher, and then there's 1 business teacher and 1 computer teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And if we had department heads for all of those, it just really wouldn't, it would be unmanageable. So she represents all of those departments, and when information is being disseminated, she's responsible for communicating with them or collecting information. As far as curriculum work, they largely function independently on the curriculum side of things, with them checking in with their department head.
I guess just someone with a business background, I see business having more alliance with math, I guess, even in some ways, you know. But,
Yeah, there
you know,
certainly
a
are.
lot of,
I think
but I'm not, it's
right, in
just
terms of
my own-
in terms of an organizational structure,
Yeah,
we're
I
trying to
understand
divvy it
why.
up so that each department head is representing roughly 7 people, and it allows them to
Okay.
be the voice and conduit for information.
Since I'm learning too.
Sure.
Have we ever done K through 12 departments in the arts? So you would have enough bodies to legitimize
You mean
organization?
having a department head that would reflect the entire district?
Arts
I mean,
department.
no, we've never had that kind of a structure in place. However, we have regularly had, you know, K to 12 department
Meeting.
curriculum work that takes place in initiatives, but there hasn't been a single teacher-level department head.
Thanks.
Yep.
Is the stipend set in the contract?
Yes.
Okay.
Further discussion? Hearing none, could we have a show of hands, please? All in favor?
Thank you. And again, an annual nomination to the school board is Todd's recommendation for fall coaches, and I support his recommendations.
So moved.
Moved by Krista, seconded by Ann. Discussion? Hearing none, could we have a show of hands, please? All in favor? Motion passes. Board action items, approval of withdrawal of scholarship trust funds. And if you vote for this, you'll have to sign 100 papers here.
Or even if you don't vote for this, you have to sign, I guess.
I do.
Yeah, this is a release of funds that exist for scholarships that require your proactive motion.
Motion to approve the release of the scholarship funds from the Scholars Trust Fund.
Moved by Kristen,
Second?
second by Ann. Discussion?
Do I have to include an amount in that motion?
No, because
Okay.
you're doing the cover motion, and then
Okay.
the detail is below.
Okay.
So there's dozens. It would be, you'd be here for at least half an hour just listening.
Okay.
Further discussion? Hearing none, could we have a show of hands, please? All in favor, motion passes. District reports, curriculum and instruction reports.
We don't have any this evening.
See how efficient I am, superintendent.
But I can guarantee you that Carolyn Eastman is anxious to be able to report. And hopefully we'll have that report for you in August. Well, I do have a report, so I'll make up for Carolyn. And so the transition to the district has been going extremely well. I've been meeting with individuals who have contacted me, and I've asked for a list of individuals who I would like to talk to. So in the first 2 weeks, I've met with a variety of people, including our own administrators, our central office staff, that seemed appropriate since I'd be working with them every day. I've also met with the ABC committee already, and Al was there, and I think that meeting went extremely well. I was very pleased with the proactive conversation. I've met with the 4 group, and I have gone through about half the board as individuals. So I'm meeting one-on-one with board members in order to make sure we don't ever get into a situation where the board is meeting as a body without public notice. I have a lot more people on my list. Some of them actually spoke tonight. So we'll be continuing to go through the system. Union leadership, for example, is going to be a priority for the next round of meetings, so I can get to know their leadership, and that's not just the guild, but all the unions. Various individuals who have been active in support of the system, and others who have said, you know, we support the system, but we don't support it at the level it's being funded, so I'm not filtering anybody out. I want to make sure I have a good sense of the system. We did receive 2 proposals before Lee left. He put out an RFP for a student capacity for our schools. Those came in. I talked to Lee today. I'm in the process of analyzing both proposals against the language that Lee put in, and ultimately we'll make a decision, and that work should start this summer. The board recently adopted a new vision for our school system. I would like to promote to the board, and I'll talk more about this at length in August, putting together a future search workshop, which involves 100+ individuals from across the 3 towns, both school system employees, but also community leaders, community members, students, always superstars at these meetings. They really are, I'm not joking. And really get a sense of trying to build a collective will, trying to build those bridges across all aspects of the district. So I'll be promoting that a little bit more in August, but I wanted to give you a heads up this evening. Carolyn Eastman is in the back row. Wave, Carolyn. Carolyn has been doing the data mining just like I have. She's been intense. She's had many meetings with staff, and what we're learning from staff is they're very proud of the work, and we heard that tonight from some of the public comments. We also are hearing from the staff that they're at the very beginning stages of the implementation of Common Core, and many of you know that the state of New Hampshire adopted Common Core along with about 46 other states, so this is a national movement, and it really will reflect the work that we do, quite honestly, for the next 3 years. It's really going to take us that long to unpack them, to build the curriculum around them, and to build the assessment practices around them, so that we can report out to the board, as a board, as a body, to the communities, what we're doing, how well we're doing, and be able to assess ourselves in relation to not just New Hampshire, but the other 46 states that have adopted the Common Core. You'll hear a lot more about that from Carolyn as we move through the months ahead. And she's already had initial conversations with staff and already got into some really spirited debates, and that's exciting. Every time she's come back to my office, she's said, "Jim, you wouldn't believe." And she's had all kinds of enthusiasm around the issue. Great conversation as recently as this morning. So I'm really excited about the work that Carolyn's going to be able to do for the district and for our students. Catherine Pleward is our new special ed director for the district. She's been, of course, much more knowledgeable about the inner workings of the system than Carolyn or I. Carolyn has the advantage of being a parent, so she had the consumer side of it down. Now she's learning the provider side. And of course, for me, everything is new. So it's been pretty exciting to learn what we're doing and how we're doing it and ways that I might be able to influence making Oyster River even a better school system than it is. And we all know that its reputation is well known. She's in the process of finalizing interviews with her replacement as an elementary school special ed coordinator. And Susan Caswell has been such an asset to me. Every time I have a question, I go down. She's ready with the answer. I get the information very, very quickly. And, you know, I'll say, well, in Maine, it's done this way. How's it done in New Hampshire? And she'll just spits it out. So it's really great. She and I have been in pretty intense conversations about the board's action to investigate what it would take to have a flat budget in FY14 and 15. And one of the proposals that I want to make to the board in August is a retirement incentive. I've used this in 3 different districts, and it is a great way of allowing people to exit with dignity and reduce cost at the same time. So Susan and I are working on that together. And then Susan is in the final stages of replacing the food service director. And finally, what I would want to say is how much people have been welcoming and positive. I don't get distressed by conversations even when they're about money. I listen carefully because everybody has some really great ideas. And my goal is to be respectful to all groups because I think that's how we build the ultimate relationship that supports our students and our program. So, you know, 2.5 weeks into it, I feel really good. I've had great conversations and people have been very, very, very wonderful to me. I know that we have a lot of hard work ahead. I'm not delusional in any way. But I am just feeding off Carolyn's positive energy and Sue's commitment, and the principals have been crazy great. I mean, I left my meeting with the principals feeling like, wow, you guys really have some great leaders in this district. So I'm in the process of learning that about the staff, but I will tell you, every principal who's come to me and talked about the district, the first thing out of their mouth is, Jim, you have to know our staff is exceptional. And that's pretty encouraging. So I'm looking forward to working for you and with you and by you to make sure that this district maintains its incredible reputation and does great work for kids. That's my report, Madam Chair.
Can I ask a question?
No.
Moving along.
Yes.
No, my question is about retirement incentives.
Sure.
Is this a positions that will not be continued or just in general?
Very fair question. So you provide a retirement incentive. The reason you're doing it is you're hoping to address the cost of operating the district. We all know that 80% of our cost is associated with personnel. Schools are personnel heavy. It's not like a business where you can balance, you know, production with your people. You have to have people. And so when you do a retirement incentive, some people will be replaced because they're in critical positions or singleton positions. So I'm sure that and I don't know this, I'm just using this as an example, Todd lost a physics person, the first thing he'd say to me is, Jim, we have to replace the physics person. And he would be right. On the other hand, if we had, you know, we look at our class sizes and we have multiple teachers in an area and somebody retires, I would look at Todd and say, can we distribute that load to the remaining teachers rather than replace them? So it will be both. It would be both replacement and non-replacement.
Because my question is, if you give an incentive for retirement to a position that you're keeping, how long does it take before the person that's moving up, is that the same pay scale?
Yeah, that would be something that I would have to investigate, Madam Chair. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
You're on, John.
All right, well, it's summertime, so the Student Senate isn't working on much. We'll be working on Spirit Week when we get back to school, but at this point, I'm pretty sure the whole Senate is at the beach or something. Except for me.
Good report.
Could I just ask you a question?
Yes.
It was brought up earlier about the tent, the graduation tent. We have not revisited that. I was surprised that the senior class had to take that on as a cost. Is that going to be something you're going to bring back to us? Or?
I can bring it up when we get to budget discussion time. For putting some money aside in the budget to purchase a tent, because it is...
Or probably rent it.
Or rent,
yeah.
Either rent or purchase a tent. It's a huge cost. It's $6,000–7,000 for 2 days, which is just crazy. This year we almost ended up having our graduation in the gymnasium anyway, so the tent would have been a huge waste of money. So certainly we can look back on this in a few months and see if we can do something about it.
Okay. That was your whole, isn't that what your whole fundraising for the year essentially is going to the tent, right?
Yes, most of it. We also have the senior trip, which we pay for, and we'll also have to cover some like small costs. Normally we provide discounted senior shirts, and we'll provide sunglasses or something should we have enough money, which it doesn't look like our class will. And
it was in, I think, either 2008 or 2007 that the tent was taken out of the budget. Prior to that, the district absorbed the cost of the tent. So I think it began with the class of 2008 or the class of 2009 had to raise the funds. That was the first class that had to absorb that cost.
Seems kind of crazy, and I hope we can get it back.
And is that just because of budget concerns?
Yes, it was a choice of the principal when the budget was put together to eliminate that.
Well, graduation of 1980 was in the very hot, small gymnasium. I know that for a fact. Okay. Any other reports? Announcements and commendation. The district.
I was approached last week by Alex Herlihy, who is a former teacher of Oyster River High School, who's been involved in our Russian exchange program at the high school for many years. They have a group of educators from Russia who are visiting next week, and they're actually coming to Durham they're going to go visit the Whittemore School of Business. They're actually from the International School of Management is what their focus is, but they're going to be coming by the high school at 8:45 on Tuesday morning to meet with myself, and Alex asked me if I would invite any school board members who might be interested in stopping by and chatting with the 5 members of this delegation. As I said, they're here looking into different organizational structures and management type things, and certainly understanding the American school system is certainly a lesson that they're looking to have, and I would invite anyone who is available at 8:45 on Tuesday morning, swing by the high school, and there will be a delegation of 5 Russian visitors from the Portsmouth-Severodvinsk Connection, which is the organization that promotes it. Say that again. I don't know.
Thank you. Anything else? Board. Anne.
Jay may need to help me. In this last spring, there was a technology fair at Massway, and the middle school teachers did a presentation, and I was reminded of a program that they were encouraging their kids to use, and it was the Khan Academy. And there's an article in this month's Time magazine, the week of July 9th, that talks about the program. And so I'd like to commend our middle school teachers who are branching out a little bit and using resources that don't add to the bottom line of the district, that are creative.
Thank you. Anybody else? I had an email forwarded from Ann about the audit, asking me if I had any concerns. And since after 4 months, I still feel I'm totally clueless. I don't have any concerns specifically, but if anybody else does, please let me know and I will let them know. I also had talked to Sue about the manifests and how we sign them and when, and that our treasurer is charged with dispensing money when we have signed the manifests. So I've asked Sue if she could please come back in August with the process that will fit that criteria, because I got a check and I never signed the manifest for it. I got reimbursed for the flowers for the, so I wondered how that happened. Yeah.
I regularly look at the manifest. I did today, and it was an extraordinary amount of work. This was a big manifest. And unfortunately, I came when Sue wasn't. She was out at a meeting, and so I had some questions, and I was unable to get answers to them because Sue wasn't at my beck and call. But I hope that we, as we address your concerns, that we're able to develop more, not checks and balances, but attached, I guess, that there's more backup and in a systematic way, so that when I'm looking through the manifest, I understand what line items some of these costs are attached to, so that I'm confident that we're in good shape.
Great.
Megan?
Yeah, I also look at the manifest regularly. Today, I didn't have time, unfortunately, but one thing I noticed that if you really want to understand, you have to have the budget and have familiarity with the coding of the budget to understand where funds are flowing from. And it's not something that I think if we're, because the manifest is available to the public, anyone could view it theoretically if they wanted to. And so how can we make it more, if there's a need, I suppose, but how to make it easier for folks to understand it, that I could see that being valuable.
It was also brought to my attention a shipping charge for, Dennis, maybe you can speak to this more, for, since I'm electronically retarded.
For Promethean boards?
Huh?
Is that what it was for?
Yes.
Yeah. The PTO raised $3,600 to match Promethean board. So we got 2 Promethean boards for the cost of 1, and we had to pay the shipping charge.
Which was $500.
$400, yeah. It's expensive.
Yeah.
They're huge.
Point of order. We're under announcements and commendations. And this isn't
We've taken up board discussion. So, yes, you're right.
Okay. Sorry, Maria.
When do I get to?
could add it to the end of the agenda.
When do I get to be grumpy?
Well, the manifest is,
Huh? Under manifest?
there is a
Yeah,
action item
okay.
agenda.
Anybody else?
I don't want to get point of order, but I actually wanted to address Megan's point about making the manifest easier to read. And I mean, that kind of dovetails actually with what we saw at our meeting at the ABC, where they were talking about the budget itself and graphically presenting it in a more readable form. So I'm sure there's someone there that has skills that probably could come up with a way to make it better.
You know, Maria has shared that there's going to be an August item anyway, so we can talk at depth at that point.
Yep. Moving on to discussion items. Review the policy KF, use of buildings and facilities.
And this really is a request from my office. At some point, the board wanted to see all of the requests and the answers. So the question from Wendy is that the protocol you want to continue to use or not? It has nothing to do with whether somebody has the right to know. They do. It's just a matter of, do you want us to publish all that work to you?
We just skipped
Where
down.
are we?
Yeah, what are we on?
We
just
skipped
gone
down
down.
a
I'm
bit.
sorry.
We're under review
We're on
of
the use of
policy
buildings
KF.
and facilities.
We can change it around.
No,
if
no, that's
Dr. Morse
okay.
would like to.
I already apologized to Maria that I would screw up tonight. So use of buildings and facilities. I'm going to ask Sue to come to the podium and talk about both policy KF, use of buildings and facilities, and policy DJE, bidding and purchasing. So, thanks, Sue.
Well, I assume that they're on here because you're looking for perhaps some revisions to them. And I know that we've worked on both of them, but they haven't come before the board for an approval. In the past, you've had a committee to work on them, but I think we've done a lot of work on them, and I think they're ready maybe to be put on the agenda and reviewed by the board. We need to do a little more work, but once we're finished, I think that's the plan with those two policies. If
We
that's
do
the-
have a policy committee revitalization
Okay.
item, so
Okay.
it can go through if that comes.
If that's the plan, then, in other words, to revitalize the policy committee
We
and do
haven't
it.
voted on that yet,
Okay,
but
okay.
So I'm a
Kristen.
little confused because this policy is currently being worked on by you, and right, is that right? Oh, no, this one's being worked on by,
Which, we're talking about buildings and facilities.
Brian.
Was done previously some time ago, and now Brian's reviewing it and
reviewing
going
it,
through
and then
it.
you're working on the bidding.
Bidding and purchasing,
procedure.
yes.
So, I guess I don't believe that it would be in the board's best interest to be vetting a policy that's not completely vetted by the administrative teams that are responsible for those areas. So I think it's a little out of order, in all honesty.
Al?
I just have one question. I read through the policy, and it said the board will approve a schedule of fees. Is that somewhere? Do we have what the fee, I mean, is it the same to fee each school, or is it different from each school? Or how
No,
much
it's
you use?
different for the organization, it's different whether they're a nonprofit, so, I mean, that's, and the reason the board will approve is because in the past, I think the schedule has been in existence forever and never been revised.
Okay.
So I think it should be standard practice to look at that and evaluate what others are doing and bring it up, because it is a source of revenue for us. So, that's,
One more question.
Al?
Okay, so this has to do that, and it's like a rare event that we have like the president come to our school. But who knew? We had him come to our school. And my question in this policy is what I saw happen there is when someone, it doesn't have to be the president, it could be the Pope, who knows, who comes here next. But it's like, whoever's going to come to our school, there should be something we write in what the capacity is that they can have. So that was kind of a nightmare here. They came and they, the capacity, I don't know what the capacity of the gym, and it was like vastly over the amount. So when we're granting a request, I would think, to something that's going to be really popular, that should be a fundamental thing that we say to them. By the way, there's only a spot for 600 people, so keep that in mind.
And I have talked to the town manager in Durham, and there had been a standing arrangement between the district and the town, but because of how new everybody was.
Kind of fell in the cracks.
Yeah, and we're all aware of it, very well aware of it now.
Speak up.
I want to speak to what Dr. Morris just said, that I hope that we include language in this policy that speaks to a collaborative approach when facilities impact the cooperative towns. When our buildings are used and streets are blocked, I think that it behooves us as the leasing entity to make sure that our local cooperative town governments are fully apprised.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sue.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
Okay,
So now we're right to know.
Yeah.
now we're on the right to know.
And it really was a request as far as what you wanted to continue as procedure. Do you want to see the request and who made it and the answer to it, or is it enough that we are responding in a timely fashion?
I made the request for us to review the protocol because under our past superintendents, as a board, we were informed whenever a right-to-know request was issued or filed. And I just felt that we had a change in protocol, and so that we should have a conversation about it, and which way are we going to do it, so that as board members, we know what to expect.
Personally, I assume that everything I say and everything I email, no matter how inept I look, it's public.
Absolutely.
And I don't know why anybody wants to see what I'm doing, but if they do, they're welcome to it, and I don't need to know about it.
I think this was more of an issue for us when we were not, I mean, we just had a policy change, and I want to say it was a year ago this month, that required all school board members to have a ORCSD account and to do all their school board work through that account. And since that policy change has been made, it's been a lot easier, at least for me as a school board member. I've always used the ORCSD account. However, because other people were using their personal accounts, my personal account would occasionally get an email from somebody. And so when we had a right-to-know request, we got the right-to-know request. We didn't really get the background from the right-to-know request. We would just get like a statement saying, this is what I'm looking for. And we didn't really know where it was coming from or why they were requesting it, which when you're looking through things is kind of hard to figure out whether or not something falls within that right-to-know request if you don't know where it's coming from. So I think it's less of an issue for me now because it kind of works all behind the scenes, and you know, someone can go into my account, pull out whatever they need, and that's fine with me. And so I think it's definitely less of an issue. I think if it's a right-to-know request that's going to affect the district in some monumental way, that it would be helpful for the board to know that that request has been made. But, you know, a request for emails from X date to Y date really, it doesn't really affect me at all. Go ahead, give them all out, I don't care.
Megan.
I think we need to, you know, be respectful of our staff's time. You know, time is money, you know, and I don't want to burden, you know, Wendy and your office with extra administrative clerical work, let's put it that way. I think there would probably, you know, a right to know request, an email to the district is a public document. I guess my question is, is that being made available through our regular correspondence? We usually have a folder of correspondence. Would that include right to know requests?
It can.
Okay.
Sure.
I mean, I think that's one thing. And then if there's a board member who's interested, they want to know, they could, like anybody else in the community, they could go in and look periodically. So I think that could satisfy it without creating a clerical burden. The other practice that Lee helped put in place, you know, the use of ORCSD email. And one thing he requested, and I'm not sure if this is a practice you want to continue, was to have whenever we send an email, basically, to copy Wendy.
That would be really helpful in the, I think that Krista's point in terms of, as board members, using your district account exclusively, and to reiterate the chair's point, everything that you put in those is public. So, you know, when you see anything I do, you know, and Wendy said, just remember that's public. And I said, I know it's public, Wendy. I've done this for 25 years. And so it's really important to keep business in the business of the district, and your personal accounts, never put anything that belongs to the district, that's yours. But if you do get across, like Krista said, then I would just send it to your OSC district account and be done with it, because then it'll exist that way. Because it is possible, because somebody has your personal email, because they're a friend or a neighbor, that they respond to your personal account. Just send it to your district account.
But so, I'm sorry, just to clarify, do you want, should we be copying Wendy on any, I mean, is that?
I don't really think so. Wendy
No, okay.
gets all of mine, she doesn't need all of yours.
No, that's what
I think that would be
that's
fine.
what Lee had us do before, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think if everybody's honoring the district
Yeah.
account, then we're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Was
sorry.
Was the question, I may have missed it, whether we want to know if there is a request for right-to-know information, or whether that should just be handled without our knowledge? Is that
No,
the
the question that Wendy had was that she was under the direction that she thought came from the board, that the request be shared with the board and the answer be shared with the board.
And the answer.
Yeah, and,
Okay.
you know, I think that Megan's idea of just putting the request in the correspondence folder gives you the information that a request has been made. And if you do want more information, then you certainly can have it, because clearly you're part of the public that has the right to know. But we're just trying to figure out, you know, how much shuffling of paper, how much information you want, and trying to keep it as efficient as possible on Wendy.
If it's on paper, as few as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying the same thing, that my concern isn't what we send so much on email, because I, again, think that someone, if they want to read our emails, that's fine. It's mainly that Wendy is not wiped out. I mean, we've been so far fairly non-controversial, so I don't think there's been...
Oh, jeez.
Oops, sorry. So there may have been, maybe I'm not reading a million right-to-know requests so far about what we've been writing, but anything that, you know, I would hate it for her to be spending her whole day filling right-to-know requests instead of getting work done. So whatever makes it more efficient is...
Well, she, myself, Sue, central office have to respond to those requests, so that's not an issue. It's just an issue of how much you guys want to see and how much her inbox gets full by distributing it. So it seems like putting it in the question in the correspondence file folder is the solution? Okay, great. Then I will tell Wendy, and she'll be happy tomorrow.
Tell her it was my idea.
Tell her I asked the question.
Policy committee, revitalizing.
Can I ask a question?
About this item?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
How far are we, or how far is Barrett really, in the revision or the review of our policy manual?
Well, thank you for asking, and as I answer that question, I will tell you how I feel very strongly about this particular issue. We have sent our policy manual off to the New Hampshire School Boards Association, and they're well underway in terms of reviewing our policy, and they will get back to us. According to Wendy today, it was coming under the category of almost done. And so that will be available to us. In terms of the item on the agenda, the revitalization of the policy committee, the school board by statute has certain responsibilities. And one of the key responsibilities is school board policy. Policy governs the work that I do, and our principals do, and our staff does. Absent of policy, then you're basically relying on the superintendent to make their best judgment. But my world lives more safely if I have board guidance. And so having a policy committee is really important to me as your superintendent, and I think it really speaks to the issue of one of the key responsibilities of the school board. So I'm hoping that the school board feels positive toward revitalizing it. You did have it at one point, and I would like very much to be able to have a policy committee. And I would say, in saying that, I would also share with you that not all policies run through the policy committee. Some policies are really of such a nature that to run them through the committee is a waste of time, because the board is going to want to talk about that policy in depth from A to Z, and to run it through a subcommittee and then do it becomes an enormous burden on the policy committee. 95% of policies can run through a policy committee, and if we honor the committee structure, that committee would come forward and say, we recommend that you approve this revision or accept this policy. The board would certainly have its discussion, but hopefully would respect the work of the committee and just basically say, yes, it's time. But some policies, and policies that Carolyn and I have talked about, the assistant superintendent, around curriculum and academic standards and so forth, will require not only this body's discussion, but community discussion. So they even become bigger than the school board. So I'm very, very supportive of this and hope the board is as well.
Do we have a motion?
I get to make a motion.
You do.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to reinstate the policy committee.
Moved by Megan, second by Ann. Discussion?
I would like to be on the policy committee.
I would like to be on the policy committee.
And so would I. Further discussion? Could we have a show of hands, please? All in favor?
Thank you.
We have a policy committee. Which brings me to the next question. Is this just, in my former life, I spent 11 years on the policy committee. And we had community members as part of the committee, just to get some extra input.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a policy on advisory committees to the body?
Yes, we do. We have policies and everything.
So that would be how you would
So we can look at-
operationalize that, absolutely. Yeah. And you'll, in this particular community, you could have incredible experts in various areas that would enhance our staff's input.
Okay. School board committee updates. Al?
We just Monday had an ABC meeting, and Dr. Morris was there, and he was right, it was very productive. The main thing we were talking about is the ABC moving forward in the budget cycle. In the past, or last year's budget, the board and the ABC met separately with various elements of the administration, and then at the end they developed their own recommendations, and the recommendations, I seem to remember, came in December, and it was kind of out of whack with our with the superintendent's development. So we were trying to get it so we're all working on the same page as we work on the budget. So the ABC members will be in our workshops and offer advice at the same time, and then their report that they'll develop would be very quickly in our budget cycle. So it gives us enough time so that their recommendations could be incorporated while it was still fresh, and it would also take away that there would be any surprises after the cycle had been done. So I think it's a much better structure moving forward. And that was about it.
Can I add to that, Al?
Sure.
The other issue that we talked about was the potential of looking at not just the budget that's upcoming, but in addition, to try to get a sense of where we would be headed in a projected fashion in the following two budgets. So, if we talk about the enrollment issue, and we have this enrollment report that shows declining enrollment, I think that we also be talking about how we would adjust that over a couple of cycles. I'm not proposing that we do, you know, a 10-year piece, but a couple of years seems reasonable in terms of being able to inform not just you, but the community at large where we're headed. And they were receptive to that idea as well.
Great, thank you.
The long-range budget, long-range planning committee met, and Lisa Allison presented her most recent figures, and I won't get into the figures. I think she'll come to this meeting with figures in September, is my understanding, with the updated, so they continue to revise their model, and she mines the census data in a way that I think is absolutely miraculous. So she'll be updating us on the most recent figures, I think, in September.
Thank you. Any other, Megan?
I have a general question about our committees. You know, we have committees and we have assignments as, you know, board representatives to different groups in the district. Is that something we should revisit with Dr. Morse now that he's here? Or in terms of, do we all, you know, like I'm on this technology, I'm supposed to be a board rep to technology. I've never gone. I don't know what exactly, if that is even something I need to do. Is that a role that is a valuable role or not? I guess I feel that might be worthy of revisiting.
Could be something that you and I and Tom talk about, because that
Okay.
would be in your jurisdiction.
No, I hope not. But it's something to talk about and put for discussion when we inform ourselves a little more. Thank you, Michael. No. Any other? I'm working on it. You know, a first here. Approval of minutes of 6:20. Yes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of June 20.
Moved by Ann, seconded by Ed. All those, okay.
Comments?
Yes.
One name, Tracy Schrader, is O-E the same thing. So it's S-H-R-L-E-D-E-R. Okay.
That was the comment?
It was a correction.
It was a name correction. Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Spelling.
All those in favor? Motion passes
6-0. I'm abstaining.
6-1. Those, all
She was-
I'm abstaining because I wasn't
She was
there.
here in spirit.
I wasn't.
In spirit.
Not even in spirit.
I thought of you briefly.
Just
As I was getting
just as
eaten
that
by
blood
deer
meat.
flies, yeah.
Approval of manifests. Have everybody signed?
Yep.
Public comment.
Wait,
Oh,
can we go back to the manifest?
yes.
Because we're on the manifest, so we can talk about the manifest, correct?
Now you can talk to your heart's content.
So I just want to get clarification. So I mean, is that a de facto, I don't think we have a policy that says if the PTO or an organization gives us a gift, we have to pay for shipping.
No,
I'm
I would.
confused about that.
I would question whether we have a gifting policy. A lot of districts have gifting policies that
We
would
do.
be
We
spelled
do.
out.
Okay.
We happen
So I'm
to
just
have
wondering
it.
why we paid for the shipping costs of those boards. That's all. I'm wondering.
Well,
What is it?
the
Dennis,
policy does not talk about that.
Okay, so there's just like kind of a gray area.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
Dennis used his discretion in terms
Okay.
of getting a free
Okay.
board.
Answer that too real quick. We also got 2 Promethean boards at the middle school via the PTO.
Yeah.
And I know to save funds, Josh, our IT person, actually ordered all 4 Promethean boards in bulk to actually save on shipping, so I think that's why it cost $400.
It was 520.
$520. So my impression, though, is that we were actually going to ask the PTO to then reimburse us for the shipping.
Okay.
So the district actually wouldn't be paying for the cost of shipping. So
probably should have stood up earlier, but I wasn't really sure if it was the same situation, but.
Well, I know, yeah.
So it's easier for us when we order, when our IT, we have a contact that we order the Promethean boards from, and then, again, Promethean pays for at least half the cost, and then the PTO reimburses the district for the cost. So again, I don't believe we're not going to pay for the shipping, so we'll get reimbursed for those costs from the PTOs.
Okay. But may I say something, Maria?
Yes,
so
you
I mean, Promethean boards typically are part of our technology budget. So it shouldn't, I guess I'm trying to, you know, keep the buckets where they belong.
The important thing is that 7,236 plus 36, none of that money came out of the budget.
Right.
The only money that came out of the Mohammed budget was for the shipping. Because the PTO raised the funds, and what it was a promotion that Promethean was running. If your PTO or PTA raised the money to buy one Promethean board, they would match it and give you the second one.
Okay.
So it means that we didn't have to touch the money that is in the fund, in the Promethean board line item for this fall. So I thought, maybe wrongly, that $400 was a good investment.
You got, oh,
Yeah.
well, I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we'll
Now-
have another conversation about manifests in August.
Yes.
Yay.
Now.
And it'll be on the agenda, so I won't call point of order.
Now, are we ready for the public input?
No, we have, and then we don't have that. Do we have it yet?
We don't know where we moved it to, but sure.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yep.
Your future
Sounds
agenda.
good.
Right here.
We can do that next.
Anybody in the public wanting to address us?
Denise Day, Durham, again. And I want to thank you for adding that second public comment. I know
now.
a number of us were, what's that? For us, not just for me, but I know a number of us have said for people that come late or something comes up in discussion. And as an example, Ann was right. It was 2008, the last year that the tent was in the budget. And the reason I know that is I was really sweating it in 2009, trying to figure out which set of grandparents would get a ticket. And that's the one thing when you talk about having it in an indoor space and you have limited seating at something as important as a high school graduation and not being able to invite, you know, your family. It's a big deal. So yes, it's a lot of money. I understand that, but it's also really important to, you know, to all of us who have kids that graduate. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dean Rubine Lee, thanks for adding the second public comment. I was quite surprised. I wanted to congratulate the district and the high school, and especially Todd Allen, who was personally thanked by the president. We hosted the president, and I thought it was quite an honor.
Lady Taylor and Durham, I would also like to thank you for adding the second public comment, and I hope that you keep it up in the future. You know, avoid controversy. You know, it's been the history, the tradition for decades and decades. Why ask for trouble? I also want to point out there was discussion about the policy committee. Our policy, if I understand it, for making policy requires that all policies be reviewed by the policy committee. So if you want to circumvent that, you'll need to change the policy on policies. Also on the tent, the reason we have the tent is because when this school was being renovated, the gymnasium was not available for 1 year. We actually had it at the Whittemore Center for a year and then moved it back because it cost as much to do the Whittemore Center as it did to do the tent. And as Denise Day pointed out, having the tent means that anyone in the community, and particularly all the relatives, can come, and that really makes it a very special thing. I have many nieces and nephews of similar ages who are graduating, and they get 2 tickets or 4 tickets, and you basically can't share the event with anybody but your immediate family. So I hope that you keep the tent, and I would also like to see it on the budget. I think it's crazy that the students who could be doing public service and raising money for the community are instead spending it on a tent. Thank you.
John Collins, Lee. With regard to the manifest, I think I overheard there's going to be actually an agenda item, you're going to be discussing that. I'm glad to hear that, because my concern is, now certainly the board needs to sign the manifest, so to expect you to sign something you don't even look at is unreasonable. But there comes, a couple of you talked about being respectful of Wendy's time and concern of having her time taken up involving right-to-know requests. And then there was discussion about the manifests and about opening them up and making them more accessible and having them more annotated. And I have a concern for whoever's time, Sue or whoever that would be, taking up their time to have the manifest have a whole nother face to them. And the other concern I have is, again, the board needs to sign the manifest, so you certainly need to look at them, but to be going over them with a fine-tooth comb as citizens is certainly your right. But I hope that this discussion involves the extent to which the board's review of the manifest and then questioning and that some boundaries be drawn so that micromanaging of the day-to-day financial doings of the district is not hamstrung by the board.
Thank you. Anybody else? Agenda planning, setting, review of future agenda item list.
I would like to request, Madam Chair, that on a future agenda, when it's appropriate, that we review our technology plan. The current plan goes through June of 2013, and based on our conversation this evening, involved somewhat around technology, I believe that the current board would benefit from a review of what the technology plan is. And I would ask, what is our role in approving or just hearing about the technology plan?
Okay, John?
Madam Chair, when appropriate, I would like to discuss adding the tent back onto the budget.
Good idea. Anybody else?
I talked with Superintendent Dr. Morse about a proposal to get community to set up different meetings within the communities and getting formal visits into Lee and Durham and Madbury and invite the community to discuss school issues, and I'd like to put that, make sure that's on the agenda somewhere.
Okay. John?
Kind of going off what Ed said, I know the Senate has also had some community nights where we invite community members to the school, so perhaps the school board could also coordinate with the student senate.
John, can you elaborate?
The Senate a few times has invited community members to the school to just sit and talk with the student senate and discuss what they're doing, what's going on at the high school. So if we're going to be having meetings with the community, why not also invite senators so people can not only provide feedback to the school board but also talk to the student senate to find out what we're doing at the high school. Because in previous years the Senate community nights have not been attended by more than 5 or 10 people, which is good for the 5 people but bad in general.
Okay, thanks.
Kristen?
Can I just confirm, on the planning calendar, it says that the budget workshop is on October 2nd, which is a Tuesday, and previously we've always had it on a Friday, so can I just confirm that it is in fact on Tuesday, the 2nd of October, because I need to take the day off from work.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay,
Kristen.
thank you.
I have it on Thursday the 4th.
Sue?
It's on Tuesday, the 2nd.
You're confirming that it's Tuesday the 2nd?
Go down on this list.
It is Tuesday the 2nd.
Scratch.
Thank you.
Okay, Anything else? Future meeting dates, 8/15, August 15th? Yes?
Yes.
A motion to,
Move to adjourn?
Second.
This is some kind of record.
all those in favor, raise their hands.
Woo!
I can sign on.
Pressure's on.
This is-
You set a world record.